Evening, folks. Welcome to another Dirty Talk Live show. Don't ask me the date. I'm already confused. Don't ask me about dates full stop, actually. We're going to be getting onto that later on. God, I've had enough about hearing about dates. But tonight's guests, I'm really privileged to have them on. First of all, let's bring him up. The Cab Screens Crescent team manager, who has just said before we came on air that he's a little bit disappointed because he hasn't tried hard with his backdrop and he's not, he feels like he's underachieved there. So I'm going to pull him up on it. Let's bring him on. Mr. Lee Webber. Evening, Lee.
Evening. How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm all right. I'm all right. Yeah. Yeah, not too bad. So you feel like you've underachieved a little bit because obviously I've got a bit of a fancy studio.
Yeah.
And our next guest has sat in front of all his trophies. But
I've seen Phil's backdrop. Yeah. Not good.
But as a team manager, you're trying to go on your way of getting some trophies, championship trophies to put behind you, eh? Working towards that. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah. The connection's a bit slow there. Sorry. Is it
That's all right. It could be me. I'm a bit slow. It might be me. Okay, well, look, let's go with it. Let's also bring on Phil. Let's get Phil Mercer in, my other guest. There you go, Phil. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, all good, mate. All good.
He's got me.
Not bad, Phil. You right?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
So we got Phil in last minute because I was checking out results from the weekend and obviously saw that AMCA Championship, Vets Championship, and there he is, still going strong, still winning overalls. Phil, apart from being you must be only like me, only a few years off a free bus pass.
Yeah, I'm not too far off it now. I've turned 50 last week, I think it was.
50 years of age and still winning races. And Ando's only just turned 40, so he's got another 10 years, Ando, if you're watching, at least. Right. So we're going to talk about numerous stuff tonight. Obviously, we're going to talk about AMCA Vets with you a bit later on, Phil. In the meantime, start getting your comments in if you're watching, because we're going to have a load to talk about tonight. Definitely want to talk to Lee about the start of the year, how that's gone, etc., and putting a team together. So let's start with that, Lee. Tell me, lockdown, right? It affected everybody. How was that for you trying to put a team together, the whole uncertainty of it, and then all the product and stuff like that? I know we had problems with Team Green, but you guys, it must have been even harder to get stuff together with all the testing and everything.
Yeah, it's been really. I mean, I think one of the biggest things, not just lockdown, but the whole Brexit thing has been because we went testing out in Belgium for a couple of months, and originally going out there and getting any parts out there was nice and easy, but now it's an absolute nightmare. It was an easy place. It's a nice place to go testing, and it was a great place because obviously the tracks are better, etc. But we would have been better off staying here, to be honest with you. Getting any parts at the moment, or they are coming through slowly, but it is hard work at the moment, really hard work.
For you though, you had last year with the teams like good teams and commitment from you guys. It's growing all the time. You're still a small outfit, but obviously through experience and the profile as it rises, it's getting bigger and more professional. When you started this out, genuinely, are you at about where you thought you'd be as a team now?
No.
What are you?
Especially much smaller.
You're smaller than what you think you'd be. Or
No. It was never meant to be this big. It was never. It just kind of grew and grew. I never really had a goal in the early days. Never. Myself and my brother started it, and we never had a goal of what we want to do, whether we want to win a British Championship or we want to win this or that. It just kind of, motocross just sort of kind of sucks you in a little. Any sport, if you love a sport, it sucks you in, and then each year it got bigger and bigger, and then we wanted to. So there was never a goal. There is now, obviously, but there wasn't then. There wasn't a goal. It was just it grew year by year, and I think it was just something inside, really. I think that when I've had to jump a lot of hurdles to get to where I am, and every year someone tells you that you can't do something, and you kind of want to prove them wrong, and that's kind of where it's gone for me. I've ended up wanting to try and prove people wrong, and it's cost me a lot of money.
There you go. Regular viewer, one of our only viewer. That's not true, actually. We are getting more and more viewers to this Dirty Talk show, which is great. Good old Dick Law, our regular resident viewer, has come up. There you go, Lee. I don't know if you can see that. It's because you do a great job. I don't know if Dick's looking for a job here as your team photographer, or he's just being really polite. But fair play. So with that in mind, then, Phil, have you ever had any aspirations of running a team? Because have you done one? Remind me. I can't remember. My memory's shot, and I ain't even banged my head that very often.
No, I've never run a team. I don't know if I can handle running a team, to be honest. I'd like to be part of a team, helping out in it, but not actually trying to run it, because I think I would lose the head too easily with people, if you know what I mean.
I tell you what, I think I could see him being a perfect fit here for Cab Screens, couldn't he? Like you can get him to do, Lee. You could get him to do all the henchman work, all the dirty stuff.
Yeah, I'm calling him when this is done. I'm calling him, Phil. You're in.
Today I'm really about
to. But it's tough work, isn't it? And as a team manager, Lee, you just kind of get in deep with it, don't you? Like you said, you started off small, and enjoying or whatever, but it just gets hold of you, doesn't it? And then when you start seeing a few results and kind words coming back, and riders putting the effort in, and mechanics, you just want to keep pushing on to just make it bigger and better, don't you?
Yeah, I think, and I know Steve Dixon said this to me a few years ago, that once you've had a sniff of a podium, or you've been on a podium, you don't want to go back. You kind of searching for that next step, and it's so hard now. Like obviously, what's happened this weekend. Now that's how could I? Part of me wants to go back to what it was 7, 8 years ago, but then you're looking at guys and players that could be me again. And it's such a buzz, it's such a feeling to be there, to achieve that, especially for us, because we haven't got the finances, so we've done that purely by hard work and graft and just working so hard at it. So that to get that kind of feeling like we've had this weekend and any podium weekend, any championship is it's an incredible feeling. I'll probably get a bit emotional when like yesterday. I didn't do it in front of anyone, but I walking back from when I watched the race from right the other side, walking back, I'm on my own, and the feeling, I'll start welling up a little bit,
I was genuinely just going to say that whether you're man enough to admit that you've got emotional and cried about it. It takes a man to cry, but it's true. Like when you're that engrossed with something and you put all your energy into it. And I'm sure Phil will back me up with this as well. As a rider, when you kind of set goals and you achieve them, you might have a little moment. I've had enough little moments away from people where I've gone, and it kind of gets to you because you understand the value and the effort that you've put in. But that's what makes it so bloody rewarding. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I think probably there's only probably really two people that have seen the other side of how I work and the passion, and that's obviously my wife, who probably I come home and just
Careful what you say now. Careful what you say.
But and the other one is probably Simon Marden, who is our suspension guy, but obviously he's been my best mate for years, and he's probably the only one that, because our workshop is with him, and he sees what we go to on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday when we've got our head in our hands and trying to search for something, or we're elated, so he sees all that. And obviously as well, sat in a truck with Simon, so we sit there to a meeting, we come back. I mean, he could tell you so many stories about the miles we've done together and the the things I've lost it on the way home, you know, and throwing this and that, and it's. I mean, we could tell some stories about it, but I suppose that's part of getting there where we have done. So.
We've all done that. Phil, do you feel like the same way? Racing at the minute, you're 50, you're still going strong. Obviously, you're a bit more conscious of where your body's at and the recovery time and all that. But the fact that you're still racing a championship, it must still mean so much for you, for the effort you've got to put in. Oh, don't take this the wrong way, and I know you won't at your age, to be competitive.
Yeah, you know, it's like they were saying, when someone tells you can't. When someone told me that when I turn to 40, I'll lose 2 seconds a lap because of kids and all that. When I get on the bike, I'm just me, and I go as fast as I can. And you just want to prove people wrong, and that's why I'm still racing at 50, and I love beating younger riders. Gives me a massive fist pump. You know what I mean? I love it.
Has it literally given you like a new lease of life then? You know, that in itself, the fact, yes, you're in the vets class, but what's the vets, the rules at the AMCA vets then? What's the age you have to be? Is it 40 plus or what?
Yeah, you got your 40 plus. Also in that race, we've got you got your 40s vets race. Also, you've got a plus 50s in that class as well. So, you know, there's two championships in one race meeting. But yeah, like you say, just to beat, you know, I would love to be racing against younger riders, all, you know, not too young, but like, you know, the MX1 class riders. I'd love to be doing a couple of races, you know, in the British Championship, just to prove a point that this silly old git can still ride a bike.
Oh, hold on, careful. We could maybe arrange this, especially as there's a team manager sat in between us here on the screen. Put your pitch in now, Phil. Start writing out your CV. I think Lee knows it pretty well, but you know, I don't think he'd go back and check all your results and maybe just lie about a few of them to make it look more impressive, and you might get a ride at British.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You never know. One day just drop into a race and, you know, do it just to prove a point that us old guys, we are still racers and we still want to race.
Well, I think last time I saw you ride, I was going to come out and do it, and I was even going to race an AMCA this year, but that one at Nymphsfield got kind of called off, so I didn't get a chance to do that. Last time I saw you ride, Phil, I think was actually at Matterley for something. Was it the vets race they had there? Did you race that? Was that the one where Merv cracked? Like Merv Anstey had a horrendous crash over the finish. Yeah. You were in that race, weren't you?
Yeah, I won that. Oh, no, I didn't win that race. I was at that meeting. I think the last time we actually got to talk properly is when you had to hand me that check over at Canada Rights for whole shot.
Oh, yeah. Jesus, yeah. By the way, that wasn't my own money. I don't care how good a whole shot you got. I wouldn't be paying you any money out of my own pocket. Let's just make that perfectly straight. There's some good comments coming in. Dave King, big fan of yours, Phil. Factory Phil, top bloke. Sounds like you're always sweet for a ride at the Vets MXDN then.
You know, if it comes along, it comes along, doesn't it?
So here's some good ones for you. Now, Lee, tell me, is this mum? Is that your mum?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Proper motocross mum.
Excellent. Valerie is always complimentary. She was watching the MX Nationals live stream and was giving us plenty of comments throughout. Glad you're tuning in, Valerie. Listen, I'll try to make sure that he doesn't say anything untoward or swear. Although I've got no control over him in that sense. No. Lee Webber, here's one from John Deep Rose. Get Ike Carter signed up, he reckons.
He was impressive yesterday. Really impressive. He was. To go pole.
Yeah.
And then do what he did. Yeah, that's impressive. I can't afford him.
I can't afford him.
But no, it's impressive, really. Yeah.
A young rider's premium goes up like a football player because obviously, you know, you got more years to work with them. So no, he did ride very well. He did ride particularly good.
And it's nice to see a kid do that as well. He's obviously a privateer. He's doing it on his own. And mixing it up like that to not. I mean, he wants to. I mean, what a ride that was. I was a bit gutted for him really because I think he was in a podium position at one stage yesterday, and I know Bob's
Well,
a big
yeah,
fan of
he
his
was,
as well. So,
and he was in the lead at one point, obviously in the tee ups to go. So that didn't quite work out for him. I mean, he had the speed at Ling, didn't he? Like, you know, he ran at the front for a little while and then just burnt out. So he obviously learned a lot from that. So we got Varian comes in, Darren Clark, you know, big fan of what you're doing there. That's cool. Obviously Lee Bolt as well. Thanks for tuning in, fellas. Appreciate it. Going for bigger and better. How do you stop it running away from you financially? Is a guess.
You run out of money. That's what you do. You haven't got any more.
So
get a bank loan.
Okay. Seriously, getting into the bones of it. Are you still at this stage running a team? Like, I wouldn't say winging it. We do all wing it a little bit. I think there is a degree of that. But do you genuinely try and set a budget for your year and really try to stick to it, or is it like a bit of a big contingency over the you can sort of run on a little bit and plan for that, or do you just do what you do and then tie it all up at the end and go, shit, we've spent way too much money?
The last one. Yeah. The last. I don't think you can have a budget. I think you can give yourself an idea, but then when something happens during the year, you can't, you know, I mean, obviously the help with Yamaha this year is going to help massively come the end of the year, what they've done. But I don't think you can legislate for things. You know, things go wrong, or you find something that's different that you've got to use, or there's. I don't think you can set yourself a limit, really. I don't think you can. If Harry keeps winning like he does, then my limit's gone through the roof. So.
Oh my God. Well, Phil, this is where you can come in and just undercut Harry's wage, just enough to get the gig. Your missus has been on as well. Here, look, Phil. Yeah, don't be so alarmed. Look, she's just proven that there's life in the old dog. She's very proud of her old man. There you go.
Fair play to her. She does a lot to keep me going.
Yeah, and if you don't pay her in kind and give her a nice compliment, she's probably going to hook the Wi-Fi cable out and hook you off the show, I should imagine. Steve Douglas. Steve, good to be tuning in. Thanks for that. There you go. Listen, read that. You can read that, Lee. I think your glasses aren't steamed up. I see that. There you go.
He's always got a comment, Steve. He's a nice guy as well. He knows a lot about motocross. He's been around
he does.
a long time. So
I must. I got some video footage actually. While you're listening, Steve, and on here, going off subject a little bit. Got some video footage that we filmed at Farley 87 GP. And Steve, I didn't know it was Steve Douglas at the time, is right in front of he's basically in the foreground of the camera for ages. I must try and dig it out, see where it is, and get you over to you, Steve. Because to be honest, Steve, you look good. Obviously, he's a bit older now, like we all are. I'll try and dig that one out. Going back to running the team then for you, like you said, expectation. Okay, Lee, where are you at with that now? Is it gone up just because of the start of the year that you had? Let's be honest, Harry was amazing at the Michelin MX Nationals. I mean, he rode a blind of 4 solid motos. And to win your first ACU British this weekend, it's all rolling in the right direction.
Yeah, and probably the expectations have gone up for all 3 riders, to be fair, because I mean, look at the MX1 class, that is stacked, as it's been for a long, long time. Sean, Tommy, Dylan Walsh, Bob Rashef obviously starting in there, Sterry, Jake winning a race at the weekend. There's any one of 6 guys that can win a race in that. So, but I mean, if I probably, when we set out to start the year for Harry, his goal in my head, he's got the talent to win it. There's no doubt about it. He has the talent to win the British, but you do need a bit of luck in it at the moment. And then also a goal for Dan. I mean, Dan has been quicker than I thought he would be this year. And then for Joe Brooks as well. I mean, he stepped onto the YZ 125, and he hasn't quite put a whole race together, but he won at the 125 race at Ling by 25 seconds.
Yeah.
But he can't put a day together at the moment. But he's got phenomenal speed. So I think my expectations for all 3 riders has gone up. They won't like to hear that, probably.
They got that's part of
you know, Harry's sitting third in the British and leading the MX Nationals.
Yeah.
You know, his goal now has to be to win those. That's not pressure. That's where he is. That's the talent he's got. You know, I don't see why. You know, we need a little bit of luck. You need a bit of luck to win the British. I think if you look back for the last couple of years, there's always like the Jake Bobryshev year. You know, Jake was leading that going to the last round, broke his leg. Bobryshev on it. There's always that little bit of luck that you need as well. So, yeah, who knows?
Well, yeah, you say who knows, but you're getting to a level now, like you know, really establish yourself. So in the paddock, are you getting to a stage early days? Obviously, you go out, start a team, and it kind of falls into place by people you know and people looking for a ride, and you start helping somebody that you know, and then it grows. Are you now at a stage? I'm guessing you are, where there's people approaching you for rides. You must be at that stage now.
Yeah, that's happened the last 2 or 3 years, to be fair.
Not you, Phil. Not you. I wasn't getting at Phil's looking for a ride.
I'll be approaching Phil.
He's all sorted with his AMCA stuff, which we'll get on to later in the show.
We had a conversation with Lee about a month ago about this. I think on the phone about approaching riders and that.
It
had nothing to do with me. It was just a general conversation. We were talking about motocross and the situation I think is at the minute, and the only way to forward maybe, you know. What I mean?
Tell us more. Well, try and relive that conversation. What was you discussing then? How did that go down? Just try and recap, or is it too confidential?
I got Alzheimer's. I can't remember.
Oh, I see. So it seems like scheming is already in plans. Are being hatched. I know. Listen, COVID has made it a short year, as in condensed schedule, and we are going to get on into this tonight about these date clashes and whatever. But are you already at this early stage? I know you got racing to do, and the focus is here and now. But already we're coming up to new bikes coming out, you know, and deals need to be made. Are you already thinking, Lee, about lineups for next year, and or is it just way too early for that?
Yeah, I think in a normal year you would do, but I think at the moment I'm not even thinking about beyond the dreaded weekend of the clash, because there's
this might have to
so many things are going to change. And again, with the calendar, so I think the FIM calendar, or in front of what they're called now, that will change again. That might change the British again. So really, we've just said as a team, we'll look 2 or 3 weeks in advance and just leave it at that, because I wouldn't speak to any of the riders just yet about. I mean, I hear some stories in the paddock about some teams speaking to other riders and things like that, but I've not spoke to anyone about next year, and I haven't spoke to my riders about next year. But I dare say it'd be the 3 that are with me now, because I love working with those 3, and I'd like it to continue next year. So
and you need continuity to build, I guess. Phil, have you got any of these kind of issues going on in the AMCA world? Obviously, you're doing the championship, but that seems to be on track. Apart from the round at Nimsfield, was that cancelled? That's going to be rerun later in the year, is it? What's the deal with that?
I did hear that they were on about trying to rerun it sometime in the year, but I don't know if that's a definite or not yet. So we'll just have to see what goes on. It's a pretty busy schedule anyway now. I think we're racing every other weekend for the championship sort of thing. So it's going to be busy.
How does that affect you then? I know you're keeping yourself fit, but like we said, 50 years of age and racing, high-end championship racing is not an easy task, and you're fitting in work. Have you had to slow down your training, or are you doing more physical training to do it?
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to do everything, because me personally, like, we raced this weekend just gone. This weekend I'd like to have the weekend off, and then the week after that we got another championship again. So I'm starting to get forced into having to go and ride, because obviously the other guys are riding now all the time, and it just makes me feel like I've got to ride, which I just really want to have a bit of home life. Like, my boy does BMXing on Saturdays, and I want to go and see him ride, and and spend a bit of time with my daughter, because she gets pushed to the one side because you know, boys running around at motocross and she's there. You know, you've got to try and balance it. It's a really difficult thing to do at the minute.
Yeah.
I think I'll be in this situation. I thought I was done with it all, and then it's really.
Oh no!
Thought I was done with all this, sort of like racing every other weekend, go out and have a little race every now and then. But nah, I'm the racer in me and just can't give it up.
So I mean, genuinely, you as a racer, Lee as a team manager, where is the balance? You know, not only on time and overriding and doing too many races, but budgeting. You know, we want a good scene in the UK, but do you reckon like racing a championship race, let's say as we are at the minute, they're coming thick and fast. And I know it's an indifferent year, I get that. But if it was a regular year, what would be a good number of championship races? What you think would make a great series and the amount of races to do per month? You know, what I mean is by that, obviously we've got these date clashes coming up, and I know I keep talking about it, but we're going to really get into that in a minute. Mm. But if they didn't clash, for example, Lee, you know, what is the optimum number of championship rounds for each championship? Is it 6? Is it 8? Should it be more? Should it be less? Where are we at with it, do you think?
I suggested this to Gareth, actually, that I think 6 rounds, particularly this year when we've had a year of COVID previous, we're still in COVID times. 6 rounds would have been a good number this year, but you could have done a couple of double headers. So you could have done qualifying and a race on Saturday, warm up 2 races Sunday. That way you could have got some races in. That way you could have lessened the travel, not had the date clash. And I think it would have made economical sense for all the teams. Because if you start putting more rounds on in a year where everyone's trying to find their feet again, you're going to knock some people out. People are just going to say, well, financially, I know already there's some riders that are riding the MX Nationals and not riding the British and vice versa, because they've got to pick a championship. But if you had 6 British Championship rounds, if you had 6 MX National rounds, which obviously they're doing, and then found a formula that it's not stretching people's budgets, then you'd have a more chance of keeping teams and bringing other teams on. It's no good people suddenly having more rounds than normal, and there is a lot of championships now, which is. It's a shame, but I get that. You know, that everyone wants to. That there is a few championships about, but I think less this year should have been less weekends, but more content in those weekends for pro riders.
I absolutely do agree with you with that, particularly under the circumstances. Yeah, I think that's what should have happened. Mm. You know, from your standpoint, Phil, I'm really interested to get your view on this, because you obviously used to race British Championships, GPs and whatever. Now you're racing AMCA, which, listen, the AMCA have been around for as long as I've been riding a bike, you know, and it's an established championship. And back in the day, there was the ACU Championship, there was the AMCA, and it worked fine. So you've ridden everywhere, been there, done it all, got the T-shirt. Now you're not racing. You're only racing AMCA, as far as I know. That's right. Yeah. So, what's your standpoint from the outside, looking at this current situation with all these date clashes for the pros, and the fact we've actually got to a point where they've got to choose along with the teams? It's just not healthy, is it?
I don't think it's healthy at all, really. To be honest, I've said it for years that the ACU don't bring their dates out because of the FIM haven't done theirs yet. For the amount of riders we've got doing GPs, for every GP rider we've got 10 riders trying to do the British Championship. You know, if we lose them riders, it's not a good thing, but there's a lot of other riders out there that would love to be doing British Championships, but just can't afford to do it and can't get the backing because, you know, because that's the way it is. And having to choose between a championship is not the way to go. We all want to race when you're younger all the time, every weekend, but at different levels, sort of thing, in my opinion. But
well, so I pulled in at the weekend. The first person I met at the gate was Gareth. I hadn't been to the first 2 rounds of the British Championship. Took the welcome weekends off for me because I've been so busy and whatever, and I watched the live stream, etc. But I saw Gareth at the gate on Canada Heights, and we got chatting, you know. And Gareth's already openly said, and we're not singling Gareth out here at all, because this always seems like the fingers being pointed over there, and it's not. But obviously, he's got the problem of still, because the ACU are affiliated to the FIM, to try and not to clash with the GPs. Now, the GPs are like, when I used to race them, they were 12 rounds. When you used to do the 500 still, it's probably 12 rounds, 15 at that, whatever, 12, I think it was.
But you also had 6 riders out of each category, you know, from the English side, like 125, 250, and 500. So you had quite a few riders who were doing GPs.
Yeah.
Whereas
so that's
now,
it. Exactly. So Gareth has already said in a previous video that he did before the season started that he seriously has to consider and start looking, just running the British Championship as on the dates that suit that, and not try and worry about clashing with a GP. Do you think we are really now at a point where that has to happen to make the calendar free, so there's no date clashes domestically? Anyone of you two? Go for it, Lee.
I think, obviously, Dave Thorpe said in an interview recently that when he did, like Phil said, there was 12 rounds. Now there's 20, possibly 22 next year. They're talking about more rounds next year. I think at some point you've got to draw the line and say, okay, we'll clash with the flyaway.
Yes.
Because then you're not taking the EMX riders out of it. Because the EMX you can't, you know, like Joe Brooks, for example, our 125 lad, his goal is EMX. That's where he needs to be now. So if you start clashing with EMX rounds, then you're kind of, so clash with the flyaway rounds. If that happens, it would be tough for guys like Conrad and Sean and those guys and Adam Sterry, obviously, that are doing GPs. But at some point, I think you've got to draw the line. If they go to 22 GP, that's almost every other weekend. That's half a year.
Yeah,
you know, it's crazy. It's so you've got to take your own domestic. And as Phil says, there's a lot of kids that want to do the British, make that championship big again, make that, you know, go back to just clashing with some flyaway Grand Prix. I think that's the only way.
Yeah. Did you agree with that, Phil? Looks
yeah,
like
definitely.
you are.
I definitely agree with that, because all we can do is just sit and watch it on TV. We can't be part of it. So, you know, why not have it on them days? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, yeah, we do need the youngsters coming through, but they've also got to get into the British Championship first and get up that pecking order to get a ride in the team who might take them to the next level, which is GPs.
Do you think?
Was EMX? EMX is the supposed path into Grand Prix. So if you can avoid clashing with the EMX rounds at least, then once you get to the level of, say, Conrad, who is obviously going to be, I'd love to see him win a world title because he's got the talent to do that. And you know, when he's got 22, 24 rounds on the table, he probably doesn't want a British Championship to think about. He's not going to have the energy for that. That'll take it right out.
So want a weekend at home, you know.
I got to say,
the weekend off.
I know he's committed to racing and that's his job, but I think I'm even going to struggle to watch 22 GPs, to find the energy to watch 22 GPs out a year, let alone go and bloody race them. So it does seem, I mean, Gareth's thinking that way. Obviously, conversations need to be had with the ACU going forward, and because of that affiliation. But it has changed so much, and because the EMX is now the qualifying route, obviously for those viewing, old enough to remember, like for when me and Phil used to race GPs, you couldn't even go and do a GP until you had to finish, I think it was the top 8 or top 7 in your domestic championship at home, before you'd even be issued a license to go and do GPs. So you, in a way, you actually had to qualify through the GPs, through your own domestic series. That all went out the window, you know. So that kind of devalued a little bit the British Championship, you know, as a qualifying process to get to GPs. And it's all changed that much that, you know, now realistically, you know, as we know, if you've got the resources and money, you can just go sort of straight into the EMX and try your form. You know, to a degree, you can even go maybe straight into GPs if you've got the financial clout, which for me is just wrong. But they're they're the top of the pyramid. So what do we do? You know, you can't influence that. The British scene has to work, just accept, I think, that we can't sort of worry about GPs if we're going to build a good domestic scene back up, you know, across the board with solid racing across 1 or 2 championships. I mean, what's your take on it when people say that there are too many championships? I'm so torn on this one, because you could say that there are, but they're varying standards, and that's not taking anything away from all of them. You know, as in, obviously, the British Championship has been around for years, affiliated to the FIM, you know, and that's been the British Championship for years. You got the Michelin MX Nationals, which is registered as a British Championship and obviously has grown. Yes, I'm involved with the commentary of it, but not the organisation of it. So fair play to them for building that up. The Bridgestone and the crew there run a great event, good prize money. You know, maybe don't attract all the top pro riders, but it fits for those that want to go and ride at the weekend and earn a bit of money. And as far as I can tell, the service nationals are really good. You know, always packed out, well run. And then, of course, you got what you're doing, Phil, the AMCA, which is just a great established championship. So which one of them? You know, they're all there in merit, aren't they? So surely we can work something out where they don't all clash. I know there's going to be ones where the AMCA would clash with, say, a British ACU or whatever, because it's a completely different federation. You've got all these different federations. But taking the AMCA out of it for a little while, we got this big problem, Lee, coming up, you know, in 2 weeks' time. Dates have been moved around. Tracks have been booked that are not so easy to reschedule and change. And we are heading into this scenario where we've never really been, where it's literally got to choose. Riders have to choose and teams have to choose. I mean, what are you going to do?
Honestly, I don't know yet.
You don't know yet.
I was obviously called, like most team managers were probably called by, I mean, Gareth won't mind me saying, but Gareth asked me if it was a good idea, and I said from the word go, it wasn't a good idea. There must be another way, because in money out of a rider's pocket, there'll be no winners from this clash whatsoever. No winners at all. The organisers won't win. The spectators won't win. The riders certainly won't win, because take, for instance, Harry. He'd lead in one championship. He's lying third in another. He's got to pick a. He's obviously paid a bonus on winning a championship.
Yeah.
So if the clash happens, there's one championship he's not going to win. Well, you know, that's obviously, you know, if we had a good season, yeah, that's all pie in the sky. But he has to pick a championship. He has to now take a pay cut. It's not right. It's not right.
No.
I said it wasn't a good idea. And I don't want to fall out with Gareth about it. I've told him my honest opinion, because I think Gareth's doing a lot of good things in a lot of places at the moment. I honestly do. And
absolutely. You know, again, there was a good crowd at the weekend. The racing run on time. Definitely. The track was mint. You know, and he, you know, even Gareth, when I spoke to him at the gate, you know, he was almost sort of, you know, we were talking about it, and he was almost a bit sort of candid with it, and like he thought, I thought worse of him or anything like that. Not that in my opinion matters that much, but I was like, no, you know, Gareth, just none of us want this to happen. All I said to him with my parting shot, as I've said to Paul at the MX Nationals and everybody there, we've just can't. It's happening now, and I don't know if we're going to be able to stop it. But once it happens, don't let it happen again. It just can't be like it next year. Everybody's got to somehow find the conviction to get in a room with team managers and riders, all championship organisers, and just say, seriously, we need to fix the problem. What are we going to do? That's my take.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously the Gareth was searching for a meeting because he didn't want to lose a round.
Yeah,
I mean, why not, for instance, have a Wednesday evening just to get a. I
vote for them. Yeah, we do. It's a great effect. Look at our event, and that's not. I'm not bigging up. I can honestly say we're a little independent club, Steelhawk Motorcycle Club. So we're not like a national championship, but still, we looked at it and we knew we were only running a one-off event. That's all we wanted to start with. But we looked at the calendar, and this is before COVID. This is back 3 or 4 years ago, and thinking, well, where do we fit? We don't want to clash with local club championships. No. We don't want to club with nationals. Let's just go on a Wednesday in summer school holidays when people can make it. Most kids are off school, out riding, and it has worked a charm. So why can't we maybe do that, like you just said, for other channels?
I suggested that to Gareth, and I don't know whether he could obviously get in track, maybe another thing, but you know, if you started at 2 o'clock and you had qualifying for 2, just had the pros, no youth pros, just the pros. Qualifying at 2 o'clock and then an evening program of 4 races. Get it done on a Wednesday. The patch grid you do it.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a big crowd. The patch grid has a big crowd. Incorporate with the patch grid. Maybe they'll be up for something. I don't know. Just there was another solution. I'm sure of it, and I can't believe that it's come to this clash, because every team manager, not one person has said this is a good idea. Everyone said this is a bad idea. We don't want to make the choice. We haven't made a choice yet. No,
no.
Everyone's having sleepless nights about it, and it's not good for the sport.
It's not great, you know. I'd honestly, genuinely hate to be in the predicament that you're in or the riders are in right now. I really would. Somebody even said to me, like, "Oh, I'll see you at Fox Hills," and I said, "Well, I'd love to be there, but I can't. I'm going to be on the mic at the MX Nationals." So, you know, even for me, I was like, "Oh, I was a bit gutted about it," because, you know, I want to be at both.
I know it could be argued that we're probably in the worst, as a team, we'll be in the worst position, because Harry's obviously leading the MX Nationals and lying third in the British. Now, in front of us is Tommy, who's obviously had a mare at the first round, and Dylan. Well, I'm not sure if Revo are going to commit to the whole series, but Dylan's had a quite a big crash at the first round, so they're quite a few points behind Harry. And so, in terms of us, you know, we've got to make a big decision. I don't want to make a decision because I love Paul Irwin. I think he's a great guy, Paul, and Neil as well. You know, they're lovely, and I've got a good relationship now with Gareth, and suddenly I've got to make a decision like this, which is it's not one I want to make really, but.
No, well, obviously we're gonna watch it with interest. There's no doubt about it. I bet Phil sat there thinking, "God, I'm glad I'm just riding AMCA and I'm not." I'm not caught up in all this.
Well, I think you'll get a ride at one of those rounds in the pro class, Phil.
That's a good point,
because there'll be room. There'll be a spot.
Yeah, fastest 40. Let's get him into the fastest 40 at the MX Nationals, but call it the fastest 50 because he's 50. There you go. Have your own little class.
All joking aside, it shouldn't be happening in the sport at the minute. We all love the sport. That's why we're all still involved in it. And there's got to be a way around it. And like you say, try it on a Wednesday. You don't lose anything by trying. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You've tried. But you've got to try and do something. You can't have, you know, like you say, there's lots of nationals out there and lots of people are trying to do both. You're, like you say, that you're in the worst situation because your guys at the sharp end in both championships, whereas other riders are only 10th maybe in the British Championship, but they're right up there in the MX. So they're going to go to the MX Nationals, and one of the federations is going to lose, either MX Nationals or the British Championship is going to lose riders.
Yeah, and you have to think as well that if Paul and Neil decide that they're going to revert back to their old program of putting the pros on a Sunday, then that solves the problem of the pros. Yeah. That's a big if, obviously. But then what about the youth riders? We've got a youth rider that does. So then you've got that scenario. You know, we've got young Joe that's doing. He's quite well up in both championships. I think Ollie Colmer is leading both those championships. I might be wrong. So he's got a decision to make. You know, all these kids have got, suddenly the youth riders have got a decision to make. And they, at the start of the year, those would have been the two championships that there would have been a goal. They're the two major championships, and there's room for them both. And
that's the point. Yeah. That is it. Yeah. That even on a normal season with all the GPs on, there's just about room for them. So,
But even if you're saying they do it on pros on a Sunday, you still got to organise it. It can't be 200, 300 miles away because you're not going to want to pack up on a Saturday and move up north Scotland to do, a British Championship.
Yeah.
They've got to get together and work as a team.
Whatever happens, we've got to go from Hawkeston, from Foxhill to Hawkeston. We've got to, if that happens, if that does move, then we've still got to pack up on a Saturday night, drive to Hawkeston, if that happens. I mean, I wouldn't blame Paul for not doing it, but if that happens, then it solves the pro thing. But
they said the kids thing as well, and because I haven't checked out the exact event schedule for Fox Hill, but I think I'm under the impression from memory that it's probably going to be the 85cc classes upwards are all racing at Fox Hill as well. So like you said, it's not just the pros. And
and going back to that, I mean, Paul had this date first, so you could understand him not wanting to change his current program. This date's always been there for him. So obviously, both parties have said they've spoken to each other, some that they haven't spoken to each other. So now you've got them kind of bickering a little bit on social media. It's a really awkward situation, and kind of the riders are caught in the crossfire of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you I mean, I've obviously put my suggestion across there of how we move forward. What do you think is the best way forward? And do you think, if they don't resolve it or something doesn't happen in the next couple of weeks, do you think that's just going to set a precedent and a bitter taste that we're going to struggle to sort of get back out of? I mean, I know it's difficult, and I get politics get in the way, and we've had a ridiculously difficult year, and everybody's trying to get back on their feet and make series work and earn money and all that kind of stuff. But I just, even I'm getting exasperated talking it now. Yeah. I'm just so down on the negativity that there's a lot to be positive about in British motocross at the minute. Yeah. If you speak to all the main key brands or the key distributors like, Apico, Race Effects, CI Sport, Madison, they've all had unbelievable months. The last 3 or 4 months coming out of lockdown, whatever, they've sold more stuff than they've done for the last 2 or 3 years. So don't tell me people aren't buying the equipment and buying bikes and going racing. Yeah. And yet we're surrounded in a cloud of negativity about the whole state at the spot. We've just got to try and snap out of it, haven't we, and find a way to move forward.
There wasn't this negativity until this race clash. I think that looking at the first, obviously Cullen was there was obviously a few issues that need to be solved. When we got to Ling was good. It was really good. And obviously Gareth listened to people. He worked on that stuff, and fair play to him. He's made Ling work, and it really did well. I mean, it's a couple of things with the program they could switch about, perhaps bringing the MX1 forward, not having the last race, but he's listening to people. And then you look at Paul and Neil, what they did last year. If it wasn't for those guys, we wouldn't have had a championship. No one would have had any motocross. So they put a championship, so they deserve a lot of credit as well for that. So you think, right, we're in a good position here. We've got 2 major championships. We've got all this happening. It was all positive. This date clash has set everything back, miles back, and shouldn't be happening, because that's where all the negativities come from now. Before that, and I said it publicly after Ling, that I really think the British had turned a corner in the good way, that they were going forward.
Yeah, I read your post.
Yeah, and all of a sudden this date clash happens, and they phoned up. I've had an ACU official, a friend of mine, phoned me out and said, "Do you think it's a good idea?" No, definitely not a good idea. Gareth phoned me out, "Do you think it's a good idea?" No, it's not a good idea. And I can't be the only manager that said that, but it still happens. There should have been another solution, because before this date clash, in our team, we were all positive about these 2 championships and about everything that's happening in the motocross world. And suddenly this is all we're talking about.
Yeah, true. Well, we're doing it now, aren't we? Yeah. It's just like, because of course it's still coming to a head at this point. Phil, I bet you're thinking, I'm really glad I didn't ever start a race team or involved. He's probably thinking, why has he got me on the show? I want to talk positive about AMCA, which we will do. But I honestly wanted your opinion on this, because, like I said, you have been in the game a long time and raced at all levels and all standards. So you of all people, really understand where we should be going in the sport and what's required. So that's why I wanted to get your opinion.
Probably. If you cast, I don't know if you're probably not quite old enough to remember it, but like back in the olden days when.
Hold on. I'm only a couple of years younger than you. I'm 49. 49 in November. Although, of course, I don't look it. I look 69.
That's because you've had an easy paper round.
No, I meant I look older. I meant I look bloody older than 49, not younger.
No. Like going back to what I was saying, like back in the old, when we were schoolboy level, it was ACU and BSMA. And I can't remember what year it happened, but ACU and the BSMA clashed, and you had to choose then back in the schoolboy days. And we all went different ways. There was the BSMA and ACU champion. And, you know, it caused loads of trouble, and they got their heads together, and then they brought it back together. Obviously, the BSMA is not the top of a championship no more, but they need to get their heads together and sort it out, because in the end, it'll just be like, sod it, we're going this way with our championship, you pick and go that way with that championship. And the only people who lose out of it is obviously sponsors and riders, because they've got to go that way or that way.
Yeah.
You've got to work together and sort it out, basically. Lock them in a room to sort their heads out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's going to happen. It seems like it's going to happen. Fingers crossed it won't, and there'll be a last minute reprieve or whatever.
Yeah.
And it might even happen again later on in the year, because there's another date clash, I think, later on.
There is. Yeah.
I can't remember the dates. Is it when the MX Nationals is at Cusses, the final round?
Holiday. Yeah.
The British is meant to be at Duns. Is that right? Have I got that right? Something like that.
Yeah.
So, but after this year, it's just got, I'm exasperated by it. It's just got to get sorted out, isn't it?
Yeah.
From an AMCA point of view, Phil, you're doing that now. Now, back in the day, the AMCA Championship was exactly what it said on the tin, the Amateur Motocross Championship or Amateur Motocross Association or whatever. And it was still a great championship with a load of enthusiasts and a good standard of rider. But certainly over the last, let's say decade, maybe a little bit less than that, it is really starting to get like the professionalism in that is on par, regards of the infrastructure, the look of the paddock, the effort by the teams. There's more teams. There's more. There's more seemingly sponsorship coming into the AMCA. So, definitely. I mean, that's adding to the equation for a rider. We've seen some top riders that, let's be honest, are looking at the British program across the board and thinking, well, it's bloody hard to make any money anymore. Where they can go and pick a ride up at AMCA, where they might not be winning so much money, but they're getting more support. So, where's your? I mean, if you was in the position, say, of a rider, that's you're trying to make it work. You're not quite full time, but you got to go and work in the week to earn, and maybe take 1 or 2 days off to train. And you were, let's say, 25 years younger or 20 years younger. Would you seriously look at the AMCA over not riding the MX Nationals or the British Championship?
Yeah, the AMCA are going in a good way. I mean, like I left in 2010, and it was just like you just buy quite a big truck, and you go racing, just the awnings. There wasn't no massive great teams and all that. And then I've come back this year, and there's more awnings up. Not massive trucks, but lots of easy ups with all the banners, all the sponsorship. It is just like walking into a British Championship now. You walk down the thing, the campers and the awnings are all down the sides. It's really, it's a good setup sort of thing. It still has its amateur feel to some little bits and pieces, because I think they're trying to keep a rein on it. It is an amateur federation.
Yeah, right.
But they are doing hard. They're having to hold on to it really bad, because it could go real. Because when you looked at the MX1 race and the MX2 races, it's half full of ex-British Championship riders who can still run top 15 in the British British Revo.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You look at it and it's rammed. And why are they coming over? Because, in my opinion, is, the only guys who seem to get the big money in the championship is the top 3 or 4.
Is that right, Lee?
Yeah.
Are you dishing out big money?
Yeah.
back in the day, we always keep going about that because we're old. But like, you scored a point in the British Championship and you got like 20, 30 quid for it. Two races, you're going home with 60, 80 quid in your pocket. It's not a bad day's riding for you.
Yeah, that's back in like 20th place. Yeah,
you get a 15th now, and you get nice one, mate. See you soon. Attitude. You know what I mean? But I know you don't get money in the AMCA, but you do get a lot more. Well, I think you're going to say it's going to be more fun. It's everybody talks to each other. I mean, I was quite surprised when I went back. Obviously, the first round was a real muddy. No one got out of their campers. But like last weekend, it's like, "How I feel, mate, how's things, all this," and it's just like, wow, I've been away from here for best part of 10 years. I'll come back, and the only thing what's got any different is all the campers and the professionalism of it all. So they're going in the right direction.
Yeah, you have to say that I feel like the AMCA is quite a threat to the ACU Championship because it's taken a lot of guys, of 10th to 20th place guys, who are just getting beat up in those places, can go to the AMCA and be at the sharp end. So you can't blame them for going. And I think they're getting. You look at some of the rides there now, and some of the awnings and what they're getting, and I hear that some of them are being offered, money to win championships and things like that from different teams. You can't blame them for going there, not at all.
You look. I don't know how much an entry is now for the British Championship, but you're looking at max at AMCA, and it's like £50 to go racing for the weekend. I don't know how much it is at a championship now.
I don't know either. Lee? No.
I think it's 120. I think I can't remember now.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure, but that a good example actually is a rider that was with me for a few years, Josh Coleman. It's my suggestion for him to go MCA because he probably wasn't going to go any further. He was working for a living. AMCA seemed a good fit for him at the time. And now you look at some of the guys that are coming in there at the sharp end of MX2, and those guys could comfortably probably run top 15 in the British. And the same with MX1. And I don't want any AMCA guys to have a go at me because I've already upset one in the past. It's a compliment. Okay.
Absolutely.
The AMCA Championship has to be seen as a threat to the ACU, not for obviously the top guys, but the ACU Championship needs the 10 to 20, 10 to 30 place riders. It needs those guys to make the numbers up. If you lose all those guys, you just got 10 riders on the line, it's nothing. Although they're 10 fastest riders, it still looks awful. So you need 30 to 40 riders on the line. So you've got to try and keep them guys somehow. What that solution is, maybe, I did suggest to Gareth at the start of the year when he asked for suggestions that he writes to those guys and maybe offers them something, maybe gives them 8 rides for the price of 4, something just to keep them slightly interested. Because you need those guys there. You need I don't want to pick out any names as such, but you need your Sean Southgates. You need all those guys like Sean. You need them there. And I think Sean himself has had to pick. He's picked the MX Nationals over, although he wildcarded this weekend. But I hope you won't mind me saying this, but he's picked the MX Nationals over the Revo Championship because he had to pick a championship. But the ACU needs to keep hold of those riders and give them something to cling to. I know they've done the Expert Championship, which has helped because it gives lesser riders a chance to go for a championship, but give them something, invite them, make them feel wanted, because you need them, guys. You definitely need them. And the lineups have been looked. The first 2 rounds, the lineups have looked good, but there's just a couple starting to drift away now.
And they'll be the ones if you, like you say, the lower end of the championship, they're going to go to the other championships. They might be doing much better in it, and once again, the sport loses out because you're going to split the competition.
So we've kind of, and I kind of thought this would happen. We've got to sort of round, a nice sort of round circle here, because we started talking about all the organisers and federations getting together, coupled with the idea of maybe less championship races. So, we kind of answered that by saying if they actually did that and maybe reduced the championships across the board, the number of races, riders could ultimately then pretty much, some riders could maybe potentially do, let's just say the big five. Let's just say the big five. Okay, so you've got the AMCA, Obviously, you've got the Revo British Championship, the Michelin MX Nationals, you've got Bridgestone Masters, and the service. Now, you're still going to get date clashes here and there, but let's say if at least 3 out of those 5 didn't clash, for a good standard rider, you know, like you said, those riders from sort of 15 back in a British, or the high end riders at the AMCA, if 3 of them didn't clash, then potentially they could race 3 championships in a year, but not in the current guise with an 8-round championship, or arguably even more. If there was less rounds, maybe everybody could ride all of them, and the sport would just be booming.
Yeah. I mean, it certainly needs the Revo and the MX Nationals to because there's definitely room for those 2 championships, and they're 2 great championships. You know, I've said it publicly that I've enjoyed going to the MX Nationals so much the last few years, because you're always met with friendly people who want you to be there, want you to be a part of that. And I've really felt like that with Gareth this year, that, you know, they've welcomed you, and when you've been there, it's just this date clash thing that obviously, but they do need to work together, and there's room for the 2 championships. There's no 2 ways about it. There is room for it, but they've got to find a way of working together. And I don't mean that against like totally. The championship you mentioned, Jeff, like the AMCA, the service, and the Bridgestone Masters. I don't want to upset anyone from those championships, but there is only room for 2, and then those guys just have to kind of fit in around it, I suppose.
Yeah. When you say, yeah, exactly. That's what I was just going to say. From a pro perspective, and the high end, the high dangling fruit, as it were, you know, you're now involved with, like, you know, and tied into Yamaha. You know, so you're now working with them and switch brands. So I guess when you have conversations with them, when you did have conversations, they straight away prioritize you guys. They want you to go for those 2 championships. That's it. Bottom line. Yeah,
absolutely, 100%. I mean, I kind of almost tried to push them for a little bit of an answer on which one do we go for the clash, and they didn't give me one. So it's down to me. So. Yeah, that's our goal. Those 2 championships. When I speak to Paul Denning at Crescent and Adam at Yamaha, that's our goal for this year. Those 2 championships. So the clash thing couldn't come at any worse time for a team like us.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
They've got a few comments coming in. Steve coming. Well, we've had a point. There's a minimum of 4 weeks in a month. Big issues, everybody needs to talk, and I think that's the point. And I think as fans and riders, it would be great to get some genuine transparency from all the organisers and federation. You know, like just real open discussion, and maybe even on a forum like this or something. You know, we get everybody talking. I mean, I know could get a bit messy and out of hand, but at least you make progress when you do that.
Well, I think what it wants is the organ championships and the managers in a room at the same time, not publicly, not on a forum like this, but in a room together to say, you know, if you had the manufacturer supported guys and some other team riders, and then, you know, and then put them all in a room and say, this is the dates we're having. But obviously the FIM didn't put a calendar out till late because of COVID. They've done it really, so that's not helped matters at all anyway. But there has to be a solution. I mean. Yeah. I mean, there's Tim. Tim's got a lot of experience. We know. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, Tim. Yeah, Tim's run a race team for a long time, been involved with the game. I'm saying the same kind of thing. We've got Steve Bunter. Here's a good one. I'm just putting this up without even reading it. So I hope Steve's language is. I didn't even read it. I'm just putting it up. Come on, Bunter. Hopefully your language is up to speed. You know, I'll criticize you on your punctuation later, Steve. So there you go. It's a bit of an essay, but, you know, again, reading through it, some sort of valid points in there, you know. So yeah. Well, like you say, Paul's date was there.
Yeah.
That's the you know, that, you know, again, I don't want to fall out with Gareth because I've got a good relationship with him, but Paul's date was there to start off with. The AC as well, because I kind of always find myself building bridges with him after the odd falling out, you know. But you know, it's all right at the moment.
This is the thing, and this is what I said to Gareth, and I might have even said this already in this show tonight. you know, I'm not against it or against him or anything. I want the Revo British Championship to be a resounding success.
Yeah.
Equally as much.
Me too. Yeah.
Equally as much as I want the Michelin MX Nationals to be a success. Now, just because I'm associated on the mic with the Michelin MX Nationals doesn't mean I've got anything against the Revo British Championship, Gareth, or the ACU. I want you to succeed. I want all the championships to be great. All I'm saying, and that's why I wanted to also get stuff off my chest this week, tonight, as much as you did. It's just like, come on, we're heading for this like storm, this unnecessary storm, and that's just, if it happens and it does go off and we get a fallout of it, just don't let it go to a point where it gets so damaged that we can't get it back on track. That's it.
It's a good point you make there, Jeff, because there's probably one, maybe two teams that make money out of this. The rest of us, like myself, are in it because I love the sport, because it sucks you in, and you do it for the sport. So I don't want to think about a date clash. I want to think about what tyres we're going to run at the next one. I don't want to think about what meeting we've got to choose. This should not be happening, but there is not enough people in this sport that they're making money from it. Everyone's doing it because Barry from Phoenix is doing it because he loves it. Burley are doing it because they love it.
Yeah,
I'm doing it. Lee Toland doing it because he loves it. We all lose money. We all lose thousands, and now all of a sudden we got to think about a date clash. It's not right. It shouldn't be happening.
And I think you'll back me up with this, Lee, and I'm pretty sure Phil will as well. If you go back, listen, when like, for example, DT was racing Thorpe, Noyce and all that, there was definitely 100% more money in the industry. Manufacturers had more money to spend. Riders earned more money that way through contracts and stuff like that. When I was coming through mid-90s, along with yourself, Phil, and racing schoolboys in the 80s, it was vibrant. It was good, you know, and you could go off and earn some prize money at regional races. French internationals were in abundance, all those kind of things. So you could do it.
Enter a Grand Prix, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is no disrespect to anybody, AMCA, ACU, any federation that has been and come along since the mid-90s. But since then, and I don't know if it's just the age and generation we're living in, but for me, since then, the sport in the UK has been propped up by personal teams, outside sponsors, people like yourself, Lee, that have been and come before you, you know, like the guys like, you know, Mike Church and those guys, Steve Dixon, the work he's put in to build that team up, whatever. And the teams and riders, but a lot of the teams, most of them, put in so much effort that it's almost propped up. It's almost propped up British motocross. It's almost, I say it's like smoke and mirrors, really. We've done such a good job as a collective over the last 15, 20 years. We've actually made it look better and made it look like there's more money in the industry than there actually is through outside sponsors and hard work. And that's the thing. People outside looking in think, oh, it's, you know, they're living the dream. It's incredibly hard work to go racing and to put on a professional outfit. And all we're kind of looking for in return is a bit of continuity and a bit of understanding from all the federations to really once and for all get their shit together and just go, there's room for us all. And it was happening. Until the state clash, it was happening. I really felt like the start of this year, it was happening. And this state clash is kind of, for a lot of teams, has thought, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? That's what everyone's talking about. You know, I talked to quite a few team managers at the weekend, and that's the first thing we talk about. We shouldn't be talking about that. I mean, that Canada Heights was great yesterday. Ling was great. Fat Cats was great. It's there to be great. But this has clouded it really badly. Exactly. And here's Bob Buchanan coming on. Obviously, does the Oakley rider service. So
he's the man in charge.
There you go. It's like you say though, Lee, you know, and that's a brand. That's a goggle brand. And he's got exactly the same problem. He's going to have riders. How do you prepare goggles for some guy on a Saturday and be there and also be at Hawkstone? You know, you just Yeah, here's Tim Chambers again with a good idea. They do this effectively well at AMA Motocross Championship. Each round has a different title sponsor. Tim said maybe it's time to look at that, so the prize money can come in a bit more. But all these kind of things that but they won't get resolved until people all get together. And I get politics gets in the way, and I've said this though. When you're managing and running a country, you're gonna please everybody. Then you're catering for 67 million people, or how many people live in the country. Our sport is tiny, and if we don't work together, and try to put sometimes your differences aside for the greater good of the sport, we're never going to grow it.
No.
So that's my take on it. Oh God, I'm getting all agitated even thinking about it.
I can see it.
Yeah, I'm trying to zip it because I'm going to say something in a minute. It's going to.
Go say it, Phil. Say it, Phil. No. Phil. Oh,
it just it's pissing me off, really. Basically, of where I've been there, come through, and I've gone the other side of the fence, and it's just. I think half it's. I think it's all to do with money. The people who are losing out are the. You're never going to get your Richard Branson come into the sport because he's not on mainstream TV. I know that's hard. You look at Speedway, it nearly died once.
Yeah.
And then they paid to get it onto Sky, and now I think Sky pay them now. I'm not sure, but it's always on Sky. Yeah. Stop thinking about their own pockets and help this sport out.
Yeah.
But if this is about money, Phil, then there'll be no winners for this late class. There'll be no winners because spectators will have to choose who go regularly. Then riders will have to choose, so there'll be less entries. There'll be no winners, so there'll be less money.
Exactly. So, if you choose to go the British Championship way, and you've got your Tommy, your Sean, Harry, all those guys. If you take the top 10 go there, the only person who's going to win out of it points wise is the guy who runs about 15th in the other championship. He's going to be inside the top 10, no problem at all. But on a perspective, the club, the federation loses out. Irwins lose out because they haven't got their top riders. The fans don't come watch them. They want to go and watch the other guys.
I think about the three of us sat here, for me anyway, wouldn't begrudge. We want promoters and people to earn. It's a lot of work putting on an event. I kind of knew it before. I know it even more now after running our own events and doing it from there. And that's the point. You don't begrudge anybody doing that, but you just want them to do right, and so everybody can do that. It's when they really starts treading on each other's toes, and again to make financial gain, but to the point where it's detrimental to the sport as a whole, and that's what's happening.
It'll get to that point where, I think it was in the Grand Prix when there was only 25 riders. Well, like they are when they got the big flyaways.
Yeah.
20 guys going around, 5 pull out of the race because they're not doing very well. So you got 20 guys there, and then the crowd are standing there going, "Oh, they'll come round in a minute," and we shall see the leaders, and then they disappear. Whereas if you've got 40 on the gate, they've always got someone to watch. And the sport will lose out. I'll keep saying it. I
think as well, with Gareth coming into, obviously the British Championship needed that, and some people, Gareth won't mind me saying this, but some people were against it, some people for it. It needed Gareth. Gareth's put his money where his mouth is, and it needed it, and he's trying to implement some things that are going to work, are going to be good. So it definitely, like you said, Jeff, it needs people like Gareth, and obviously Paul's been doing it for years. He doesn't make any money out of it. Absolutely. He probably loses money every year, but he does it because he loves the sport. Obviously Gareth probably, whether he makes money, loses money or not, he's trying to do it. He's trying to make something happen with the Motocross world, and we said as a team we're going to support it, we're going to back it. Then this has happened, so that's obviously changed a few things in different places.
He's got to listen. He's going to take it to the GP thing. It will go to a good place, and then it will drop down because they're not listening to what the fans and riders and team managers want. And you've got to, it will take you to a good place, but it will upset people, and people just go, oh, I've had enough of this, I'll go.
Yeah, and listen, I think all three of us, anybody watching, I'd like to think, you know, somebody's passion and drive to try and succeed out of all these organisers, federations, whatever. I personally am not, and anybody else viewing might have a different opinion. I am not pulling any of them up on their passion and for the sport and determination to try and make something happen. It is just that little bit of, like I said, continuity and discussion amongst them all to make it happen. You know, I guess you can get blinkered on your own series and you want to do this and do that, but we've got to just get everybody thinking about and having genuine concerns about other series welfare and how they survive, because
it's
that's it. I think they can all fit in there, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. That I think if we didn't have the date clash thing, I think we'd have spent the last hour, well, you and me, Jeff, because I don't know if you were there, Phil, yesterday, but how good the racing was yesterday.
Absolutely, that's what we should be talking about. But you know what? I've really
it's all about this date clashing.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. It shouldn't be happening.
No,
and I've really tried through the show, through Dirt Hub and whatever, to be as positive about it and almost try to avoid talking about it for as long as I can. But it's just getting to a point where we're getting nearer and nearer, and it's coming to a head, and it's just like, and I don't want to be having these conversations no more than you guys do or anybody watching, and we shouldn't be having them. And that is the point. We should be saying how good the sport is, how good the racing is across all championships. You know, that's what I want to be talking about, basically.
I mean, you look at Ling, for example, Ben Watson there beating Hurlin's Gator flag. You look at Hurlin's actually being here in the UK. Then you look at Fat Cats, and everyone wanted to see the Harry Conrad, which they got the race at the end there, which was great to see that, and great for fans. And yesterday was good racing, but we've not talked about any of that because there's something up there that's burning that needs sorting out, and that hasn't been sorted out, and it should never have happened. Should never have been there, but we've glossed over the great racing we've had over the last 6 weeks because of this one thing.
Yeah,
this one thing. We did talk. Jake Millwood won a race start to finish yesterday. You know what? Fan, did anyone see that coming?
Ashton Dickinson taking his first ever overall.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And you know, maybe I should have held this for another time and do this, but you know, it's just been building, and so that's why I wanted to get you two guys on, particularly, as I said, Lee, as you know, because you've got a very tough decision coming up, and as I said, Phil's seen it all and done it all before. Well, let's try and end on a positive note then, because we could talk about this. This could be a bloody 3-hour show here if we're not careful. And I didn't have dinner, so I'm getting hungry. And if I'm starting to get hungry, I'll get hangry, and then I really might say something that I shouldn't do.
Say it.
No, I'm not. So AMCA, Phil, let's talk about you as we got you on the show. Overall win at the weekend. Just run us through that. So how did it go? How did it feel?
Yeah, it was a good weekend. It was tough doing a full 2-day meeting. We had qualifying and 2 races on the Saturday, and then 3 races on Sunday. It definitely, I'm not tired in my body, just mentally tired. It's pretty tough. I'm not a keen runner on 2-dayers, to be honest. But yeah, it was something different, and it was a good meeting, good, well-organised meeting. We had a few issues, but they got resolved on Sunday with the track and stuff like that. So, you know, it was good. Yeah, to be honest.
Straight up question, Phil. You might not be able to answer it. You might not. You may be able, may not. Let's find out. Any inkling or plans or thinking when you're going to hang up your boots, or are you just like every year you're just like, yeah, I'm good to go again, not really thinking that you haven't obviously put a date on when you think you're going to stop riding? You're just doing it year to year.
Yeah, 4 years ago I said that.
When
4 years ago, when they cut the the 2-stroke championship out, the British Championship, I said, fuck it, I've had enough now. I'm done. And then we had a year of just doing some club racing and having some fun with some mates at club racing and that. And then it was like, this is not for me again. So, you know, I was talking to the guys on the start line the weekend saying, oh, I've had enough, but have I had enough? I don't know. As soon as I put that helmet on, I'm just a kid again, you know.
Yeah.
And I think all the prep work that goes with it, in the, you know, like you say, you're getting old and you've got to do a little bit more, and you know, and I'm still a racer. That's the problem. If I could just go to a race meeting and say, "Oh, I come 10th," I'm happy with that. But
yeah,
I'd be lying if I said I want to, you know, I'll be happy with a 10th. I ain't.
no,
even if I came
still
to
got it.
the championship, I still wouldn't be happy with that because I still think I could win it. You know what I mean? But if you don't think, you've got to be positive in the old barn and go for it.
That's cool. Oh, so like, yeah, I wonder. Well, listen, this is a comment. Like, apparently, you're gonna knock it on the. You're gonna only ride when Dawn lets you. That's quite funny.
Blimey. She'd have me out every weekend then to get rid of me for the weekend.
Oh, listen. Whenever that day comes, you don't seem to know when it is. So we'll just wait and see. It's fair to say you've had a bloody good stab at it. Yeah. How many years have you actually been racing a bike?
I think it's 39 years now.
I thought I did all right with, what did I do? 30, 29, 30. I thought that was a good innings, but geez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, you know, when they did away with the Vets British Championship, that put another kick in the nuts, you know. It was just like, oh, what are you trying to do? We all want to race. And there was just nowhere to go. So that's why I tried the European 250s, the 300 class, which was a bit of fun. You know, like you're saying about how old are you? You know, I remember being in Spain one day. I think I qualified like 18th or something. And we come in from the sighting lap, and I took my helmet off, and I was next to this young kiddie, and this kiddie just went, "Look how old he is." You know what I mean? You know, I just like thought, yeah,
excellent.
You'll ride a little bit, you know, but like, it's just a racer in you, and you just want to do it. And
yeah,
you know, when you're stood at the side of the track watching, you're thinking to yourself, yeah, maybe I should just get on a bike. That's why you just said about.
I'm not.
Yeah, I think you will. You know it.
No, I am starting to get I'm back riding, as I've said a couple of times on this show now. So yeah, I don't think it will transverse back to racing though. I'm just happy to be running. I got to say, I get excited doing the commentary and all that, but I never sit there and think, particularly like, it is a good example, Lee, at Fat Cat for round one of the Michelin MX Nationals. I sat in that commentary booth and I thought, I do not want to be out there. There was no urge to be racing around the track like that, I can tell you. So yeah, so good on you, Phil, for sticking at it. Somebody's just said we should get you to rock it till sundown. I don't see any reason with that. Get you amongst them.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll have another good turnout. We'll have another good turnout for that. With no date clash. It's on a Wednesday. Just thought I'd get that in.
Yeah.
Wednesday the 4th.
When did you come up with a Wednesday? Wednesday's a great idea.
Yeah. Who'd have thought it?
How did you manage to work that out?
I don't know. We got lucky.
Yeah.
Bit of Supercross on the Tuesdays. Well, it will be good. Listen, fellas, really appreciate you coming on. I've enjoyed every moment of that discussion. I hope everybody viewing has. Before we go, I was going to try and leave on a positive note, but Mark Morris, Jude's dad, has posted this up. Now, Mark, I know, has been chatting to both. So I think he even started a youth riders union or a group email to both the Revo British Championship and the MX National. So let's see what Mark's got to say before we sign off. There you go, Jeff. I think what event organisers need to understand is us parents are customers. Well, that's a straight away a damning opening line. I think that's pretty much on point. Yeah, so there you go. I won't read it out because I think I'd like to think everybody tuning in to this show can read. So there's
it's the youth riders. Going back to it's the youth riders I feel more, because I think the pro class can be resolved. The youth class I don't think can be, and that's the hardest part, I think. is the youth riders might come unstuck here, and that's a real shame. Real shame.
Yeah, so we'll see. As you said, let's just see how it goes. I'm certainly hoping something will be resolved. You know, and if not, well, we'll deal with the aftermath as we get to it. It is a good way to end. A bit of abuse for you, Lee. This is always good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's for Lee. There you go, Steve. Coming before you go, Lee. What teeth whitening kit are you using these days?
Do they look white? Do they?
I think. Yeah, you look good. It's not like you haven't got one of those. You know those things that.
No, I've never ever used any white.
It's
all natural. No, I swear on my life, it's all natural.
He's got ultraviolet. He's got one of those ultraviolet fly catchers in front of the screen, so it's making his teeth look white.
The back ones are falling out, but these ones are obviously all right. So,
well, at least your head's not gleaming under my little studio lights. I always have to wear a hat, otherwise I look like a bloody lighthouse. So there we go.
Bill's keeping quiet on this one. Look at his head of hair.
Yeah,
look at you.
Yeah.
Day over 30.
And it's not a stirruplet. It's a real one. It's real hair.
Right. Isn't it? It's not even remotely receding or going grey.
No.
Oh, I am.
And he can ride a bike at fast speeds. I hate him.
Yeah. You need to buck your ideas up, Mercer, if you want to get a ride on that team. You've got to shave your head or dye your hair grey.
Oh, he's going grey. I missed it.
Right, fellas, we'll end it there. Thanks to everybody for your comments. Really appreciate it. We're gonna start ramping up these Dirty Talk shows throughout the year. Now we're actually back racing most weekends. Thanks to all our sponsors, Bell, FXR, Doc Wob, everybody getting behind what we're doing at Dirt Hub. Really appreciate it. I hope that decision doesn't keep you awake for too long, Lee. Whatever you do, we wish you the best of luck with it. Phil, great having you on. We'll get you on again at some time. And if I get to an AMCA meeting, I shall definitely catch up with you. Dare I say it, as I was committed to go and maybe do an AMCA this year, I might even line up alongside you. And that'll be about it. You'll tear off into the first corner into the distance and I'll be having a mild heart attack. So
you'll be having fun because you're on a bike.
That's the main thing. Yeah. Right, fellas, as I said, really appreciate your time. Everybody for watching. Thanks a lot. I'll just get these two off the screen so they can go and have a well-earned drink. Have you finished your gin, Lee? Lee had a gin before we started.
It's obviously in a Stefan, I don't know if you can see it. Stefan Everett's
oh, yeah.
A present from Harry, that, believe it or not.
Fair play.
Yeah.
Right, go and do your stuff and knock another couple of them back and ponder on the decision. Maybe your phone's going to be going mad now.
Yeah.
Have a good day on the tools tomorrow, Phil, just to remind you of that.
Yeah. I'll be back on it tomorrow. I ain't going to do too much, but I'll do a little bit.
Say some bald bloke kept you up late.
You never know. He might give me a ring and want me to fill in at some point. You know what I mean?
Do you know what? I might leave you two on this thing so you can discuss your contracts afterwards while I sign off. Right. Right. Phil, see you later. I'm going to remove Phil from the screen. There he goes. Lee, great talking to you. I'll see you. I don't know where.
Somewhere in between Foxhill and Hawkstone.
Yeah. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice one. There goes Lee. He's out of it. All the best.
Thank you.
And again, people, thanks for watching so much. We'll be back probably in a couple of weeks' time with another Dirty Talk show. In fact, actually, I might as well say it now. The week before the British GP on the Monday, Roger Warren's coming on to join me to talk all things about the British GP. If Steve Dixon's got time, we'll get him back on, possibly Bob Buchanan that does all the trade area for the GP. So that'll be our next show in a couple of weeks' time, the week before the British GP. Hopefully Boris will play ball and the guys can sell more than 4,000 tickets. That would be great. And we can all get to the British GP and get some positivity back going and really kickstart this whole season and get set up for a good rest of the year and just get it right for 2022. Wouldn't that be nice? Right, people, I'm out of here. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. We've got a man in the van coming up next Monday that I did at the weekend. So that's cool. And for those of you that are interested, we've got our Steelhawk Helter Skelter hill climb this weekend, Saturday. in Dorset. Just go on to the steelhawkmc.cc website to find out more details about that. There's still a few spaces available if you want to have a go at this new idea that we came up with, tearing up a hill, following a race, coming back down. Go on the website or our Facebook page, Steelhawk, and you'll see some videos on there what it's all about. Right, enough talking. Check this out before I go. You can't read that, but Nuno, one of the renowned British photographers that works and lives down here with me, he's felt that I've been working so hard that he's bought me a slice. Oh, bugger! He did bring me a slice of pizza that I've just now dropped on my keyboard. Arse. On that note, I'm definitely signing off to clean up. Thanks, people. I'll see you soon. Take care. Just be nice to each other. That'd be a nice start. Laters.